I have a feeling that today might be a little bit of a Finn waffle, but hopefully a useful Finn waffle. Hi folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video, and if you are watching for the very first time, then thank you so much for choosing one of my videos where you never know what you might be clicking on. But this week it isn't about my penis, it's about, well, what is it about? It's about boundaries, self-care, self-compassion, mental health, saying no, which is often so hard for so many reasons. So today, this is really about living with ME/CFS and managing limited energy. But I think what I'm going to talk about today can actually apply and should apply to all of us, really. So I want to start by saying I am somebody who has a huge history of people pleasing, right? I suffer hugely from guilt and wanting to not upset people. I hate conflict. I have huge anxiety levels. I have generalized anxiety disorder, which means I'm just generally anxious, generally all the time about generally everything. And, you know, this is linked to my childhood. I absolutely know that. I'm constantly in therapy. It's a huge mess, but I'm constantly unraveling, and it affects me to this very day. I hate it when people are upset. I always think it's my fault. I'm forever trying to just calm people down around me because I hate it. And so this leads me to often say yes to things I shouldn't say yes to. It often means I put others' needs before my own. And let's face it, it's likely factored into why my nervous system is broken and why I have ME/CFS. You know, whilst of course this hasn't caused my ME/CFS, years and years of high anxiety, trauma and all those kind of things feed into chronic illness. If our immune system and our nervous system is weak, then we are prime targets for chronic illness, okay? So I have that history of always having trouble with setting boundaries. Now, since I got sober back in 2010, I have been much better at learning to set boundaries, learning to say no, and it's been a gradual evolving process over the last 13 years in recovery that I've got much better at. I discovered that once I went through gender transition, I got even better at saying, no, that's not acceptable. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm putting myself and my needs first. This is not right. No, I've got much, much better at it. And here we are now with me with chronic illness. And I tell you what, one of the most amazing things that having chronic illness has taught me is that I absolutely have to put myself and my needs and my boundaries first, because not doing so makes me poorly. And that's one of the best things that's actually come out of this chronic illness. Now, why am I talking about this today? Because one of the most common things that comes up in my comments when I share about my chronic illness and managing it and dealing with people and doctors and all of that is this common thread of like the world around us not understanding ME/CFS, POTS, fibromyalgia, and all of these different invisible conditions, non-visible conditions, the conditions that people can't see, you know, because we can look completely fine on the outside and absolutely not be fine at all, you know. And the common comments I get on my YouTube videos are, you know, people don't understand, they just think I can have a nap and then get on with it. So I'm often pushing through, you know, my friends come round and they think I'm fine, so they stay with me for a few hours and I don't want to tell them to go, and then I crash afterwards. And it's just a common theme that I see, that people don't want to upset other people, so they don't tell them how bad they are. I don't want to put people out, so I don't say it. I don't want to make people feel bad, so I don't tell them. Why do we do this? right? Why do we do this? And as I say, this applies to so many different things, because I see this happen with trans people as well. Let's talk about trans people, because obviously this is something I talk about on my channel. You know, we come out as trans and then we get misgendered by our family and friends who say, oh, I can't get used to those pronouns, so I'm going to use the old ones. I'm just going to use your old name. And we put up with it. And, you know, it happens with people with mental health problems. You know, oh, just push through it. You know, you'll be all right. Just pull yourself out of it. Just shake yourself out of it. It's not that bad. People have it worse. And you put up with it. And with all of these things that are so little understood by others, because they're so little understood and they don't get it, we put up with it. And that's so bad for us. So very, very bad for us. And I really understand how difficult it is to stand up for ourselves. But we absolutely have to stand up for ourselves. And I guess that's what I'm talking about today, because, you know, I'm at a point now, because of chronic illness, where I can no longer not stand up for myself and say no, because not doing so makes me poorly. You know, it is actually a blessing that I've got to the point now where I have such limited energy that I can't afford to waste it on people, places and things that are not going to treat me fairly, to treat me as I deserve, and just throw that energy away. Do you know what I mean? And I think, no, I know that it is one of the best things that's come out of this illness. You know, I have watched myself over the last couple of years as I've learnt to manage this condition, get more and more assertive with where I'm going to spend this energy. And I've walked away from a few people now that just are not serving me, and it's really, really hard. I recognise that. I mean, I did this when I got clean and sober. You know, I just knew that certain people weren't healthy for me, so I walked away. You know, when my mental health was at its worst, I knew which people were really draining and weren't helpful, or were helping to perpetuate that cycle of being really low, so I walked away. And I'm doing it now with my chronic illness as well, you know. And it is really, really hard, because when I am a really deeply loving person, and the thing is, when you are deeply loving and empathic, you see the best in people. And that's where my kind of wanting to hang on to people comes from, because I've been through so much. And in getting clean and sober and going through transition and doing so much therapy, you know, I've had to learn to forgive myself, because I was a complete asshat. I was a horrible human being when I was drinking. I did some awful things. I said awful things. I treated people really, really badly. And lots of people have forgiven me and given me a second chance. And I know that I didn't do any of that because I was a bad person. I was just a good person in bad situations with bad history that needed to be sorted out, you know. So whenever I'm with people that treat me badly, I'm always able to see the good in them and see why they act like they do. I mean, you've all met my mum online, and you know that I love her dearly now. You know, me and my mum, we fixed our relationship towards the end of her life, and it was wonderful to really kind of make peace with my mum and learn to not even learn to love my mum, to actually genuinely fall in love with my mum at the end of her life, as I did. But at the beginning, you know, it was an awful relationship with my mum. It was absolutely horrendous. But in coming to understand why my mum did what she did when we were growing up, and was how she was what allowed me to kind of forgive her. So I'm really glad I've got that strength to understand the pain people are in, But there has to be a point where you can understand the pain people are in and understand why they do what they do, but you have to, like, at some point draw a line and go, okay, I understand why you're in so much pain, I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but that's not mine to carry, and I don't have the capacity to carry it. And when we're managing things like chronic illness, ME, CFS, POTS, fibromyalgia, when we're managing mental health, when we're going through like the really delicate, really difficult stages of gender transition, we can't also manage other people's issues as well. And it isn't selfish to put ourselves first in those situations. I'd argue it's actually more caring to do so, because if we try to push our needs away and put someone else's needs first, that's just going to build up resentment and trouble over time anyway, because you can't do that without doing yourself harm and ultimately the other person harm, and then your relationship with that person harm anyway. It doesn't mean you have to argue and be malicious. You can try and have a conversation, but sometimes those conversations can't happen, and you simply have to say, this is what I need to do for me. I'm going to walk away with love, and that's what you have to do, And I just wanted to share this today because I just see it so often, especially when it comes to ME, how many people are just saying that, I just have to just carry on because my family don't understand. No, this is your life, and when you have such precious little energy, boundaries are essential. We have to kind of spend that energy where it's going to be given back in return. I have such amazing people in my life now that I know are there and genuinely love me unconditionally and will be there for me in whatever way I need and won't ever judge me or make me feel bad. My best mate, who lives in Eastbourne, I absolutely know that if we booked a holiday and I rang her the night before and said I can't go, she'd be like, oh my goodness, are you okay? It's absolutely fine. And there would be no ill will, I wouldn't have to feel guilty. She would be completely understanding. It's that level of completely understanding what's going on with me, what my illness contains, that I can just, I would just go anyway because I would want to spend time with her, because she's so easy to be with when I'm poorly, because I can just sit in a room with her and be with her and there's no expectations. But do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. We need to be with people who completely understand what we're going through, completely understand what we need, expect nothing of us, and the give and take in the relationship is reciprocal, So what I'm trying to say is beware of energy vampires, because you don't need that in your life. Nobody needs or deserves that in their life, and it is not selfish to say no. No, I can't give you that. I don't have it to give. End of. You don't even have to say sorry because it's not yours to say sorry for. It's completely fine to walk away. I'm having to do this on social media. Social media is like a hub of the world for me because I don't get out very often. So I'm equally having to do this on social media, and people get really offended when you take them off social media. But a lot of the time, all the time, social media is as real for me as real life, because that's where I'm spending a lot of my time. So I'm having to say to people, look, I'm sorry, this is nothing personal. I just can't have this on my social media because it's not good for me to see this. I had somebody recently who I really genuinely like, but they promote a lot of cannabis and drug taking stuff around, and I can't have that on my social media. I'm in recovery, and for me it's just not healthy. That's their choice to do that. That's fine. I don't mind that at all, but I can't personally see that kind of thing on my newsfeed. It's not good for me. So it was a simple, like, we're still friends, it's absolutely fine, but I can't have that on my newsfeed. Let's stay in touch in other ways, but I can't have that on my newsfeed. And that's fine. We need to remember that it's okay to set boundaries for what we need to stay well. And I think in this modern world we live in at the moment, where we're bombarded left, right and centre where it's so hard to have boundaries. I think we've all forgotten how to have healthy ones, you know, and it's so important when we're not at optimum health that we need them. Did tell you there's going to be a bit of a Finn waffle today. This was a thought piece from Finn today because I've just been thinking about this because it's come up for me a lot recently. Every time I'm scrolling through social media, it's coming up in comments and I'm getting lots of like quotes about boundaries, and I just thought this is the topic I'm going to share about today. So there you go. I just dribbled. That was attractive, wasn't it? I am looking a bit rough around the edges at the moment, aren't I? I got a haircut. If you wonder where Pip is, by the way, he's out for a walk with some lovely people from Borrow My Doggy. If anyone is like me and struggles to walk a dog, Borrow My Doggy is amazing. He's got some lovely friends from Borrow My Doggy. Talking of lovely people, I have some shout-outs today. I haven't done any shout-outs for a couple of weeks, and we have some new members to announce and shout out. So I have, what do I have? I have a new member on Ko-fi. I have Noah Kellawan. Apologies. Hopefully you know by now that I am absolutely useless at pronouncing anything. How I do any public speaking, I have no idea. Noah Kellawan. Thank you so much for signing up for membership. I hope you found all your perks. You're on Ko-fi, which is easier to find your perks and to message me. So if you need anything, if you can't find your perks, I have sent you a message. Often it goes in your spam folder. So if it has, mark it as not spam, add me to your contacts, and then you should be able to message me anytime. Or just go straight onto Ko-fi and you can instantly message me there. Also on YouTube, thank you to Ali Wade, who has joined Friends of Finn as a supporter. Thank you very much. Also have some donations on my Ko-fi page this month. Look, I'm 17 minutes in and already I've lost my ability to speak. Some lovely donations this month, whenever we are, wherever we exist, what planet we're on. The Morris gang, Lynn Morrison, her lovely gang. Oh my goodness, you lot are so lovely. You've sent me such an amazingly lovely donation. That is so sweet. Did I tell you all that we met up in Cardiff? It was so lovely. I love it when I get to actually meet up with Finn fan folks. It was absolutely lovely. Amazing donation. Thank you so much. Jet, a really kind donation and message. Thank you. And Deb Mansbridge, as always, not only are you a member, but you always leave me little donations and messages after videos as well. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's buying resources in my Ko-fi shop. It all helps to support the work I do and to help me keep making videos. Thank you very, very much. Thank you to all the Finn fam who leave messages. I'm always really appreciative of that. Having a really active comment section just helps me to know that what I talk about makes sense. I am slower to reply than I used to be. Sometimes you get a reply 6 weeks later. So it's just like, you know, pop up one day, whoa, Finn, 6 weeks later, 6 months later sometimes, but I do get there. Also want to give a big shout out to Kevin, who's going through a really tough time, and I just want to give you a massive hug, Kevin. I've replied. If you've not seen it, I have sent you a reply. Also want to let you know that I have a brand new newsletter, which is available on Substack now. So not only does it go to your inbox, but it's also available as a separate blog to my main website. So it's more, whereas my website is a kind of more organised blog, Substack is general newsletters, so it's like a roundup of all of my content, bit of behind the scenes stuff and thought pieces. So it's more relaxed stuff. So if I get my grammar, my spelling wrong, I'm not so worried, because I'm currently practicing with my Dragon text-to-speech software to try and get me back writing a little bit. So that's a place for me to kind of practice in public without feeling too freaked out of it being on my website. So if you were interested in signing up to my new newsletter, I'll put a link to that. I think I can put a link here, and I'll put a link there as well. Yes, well, that all went a bit pear-shaped, didn't it? So yes, people, lovely people, remember, your boundaries are safe. Compassion does not mean letting other people do exactly what they want. Compassion is very much putting yourself first, or remembering often putting yourself first, actually can be very helpful to others as well. So yes, leave that with you. Take good care of yourselves. Have a good week if I get this up at the week, and have an amazing weekend if I get this up at the weekend. Love you loads. Take care.